Okay. I like the way everyone was still chatting and socialising, even when I was chatting to the microphone. Nothing. Sam, 2 words, and everyone just sat down and settled down. All right, thank you. So, welcome everybody to Svelte London for October, and we've got slides, usual format. Yeah, thanks. Um, yeah, it's great to see everyone. Um, and what are we doing today? So, we are being hosted by Tessl, and my clicker's not working, so um, it was for. Don't look at the TV. That's for everyone on YouTube. I'm sure it's coming across fine, but it's just the setup we've got here. Willow, is the slides? Tessl. Okay, so thank you to our host Tessl for hosting us today. So, just want to say, with that community involvement, we need hosts, and we're a great small plucky community here in London. It's a lot bigger at times, but we've got a great turnout tonight, so thank you everyone. But we need to thank our hosts, and we've got a great community organizer in Samantha Hepburn, who I'm going to ask to say a few words about Tessl while we're here.
I'll
That's
hold
your
this for the
microphone.
live stream.
Yes,
Awesome.
thank you.
Well, thank you all for coming. As Scott said, I am Sam. I work at a company called Tessl. We have this great event space, and we try to host as many community events as possible. So we actually have a very small team. We're about 30 people behind that ridiculously big office because all of us come from kind of community backgrounds and have run communities for the last 15 years, and there's never event space. You like beg, borrow, and steal from companies to please host. So we can actually do about 150 people in the space, and we can break up to hackathons. We can close the door and do stuff during the day. So if you're on the live stream and you're in London or you're in the room and you need a host for an event, come talk to me. We are also running an event of our own. So we have a community conference we run every 6 months, and we're doing our first in-person version of that. So if any of you feel like flying to New York, because the New York, obviously, flight is very expensive, we're offering the Svelte community 50% off the ticket. So it brings it down to $90 for the ticket. So it's practically just getting yourself there. And anyone on the live stream that wants to, you can also use that code. It's 2 days. The first day is all workshops. Second day is sessions. It's all focused at software developers. So it's all AI content, kind of what's happening now, what's happening in the future. Some great speakers. And if you can't be there, our main track will be live streamed as well. So you can sign up for a free virtual ticket and watch the live stream from the comfort of your home office. The only obviously caveat is it does start New York time. So it will start your afternoon and end your evening. But please join us. You can scan that QR code, get all the information. And yeah, literally the ticket price just covers the food. We also have a great, if you go onto AInativeDev.io, we've got blogs, we've got podcasts. We run something called The Landscape, which kind of maps out all the tools in the kind of SDLC side of AI development, because there's a new tool coming out every 5 seconds. How do you keep track? So you can kind of filter it by code gen or all the different things. So please join us. I don't think there's another. Is there another one? Whoop. Make that go. I can't make it go.
I have to be arranged.
I don't know. But anyways, I'm not going to tell, whilst we change that, I'm not going to tell you too much about Tessl because actually Maria's got a little bit of it in her slides already.
There's a bit of a lag.
That's okay. But yeah, we are, I'm the non-technical human in the room, so I'm going to give you my sum up of it. But when you use LLMs, some of the responses aren't very trustworthy. And if something new comes out, the models haven't been trained on it. So we've got something called spec registry, which is almost like docs or markdown files for your agent. So tell it how to do things. That is the very bad explanation of it. But I will leave Maria, part of her talk kind of shows it. It's not a demo or anything, but shows how it works. And that's all. Just join us. We have events here almost every night of the week. On Tuesday, we had the Gentic AI community. Next week, we've got Schrodinger's Hats, the conference for open source technology. There is a flyer somewhere around here. It's like a full day live stream plus hackathon. So join us. We literally are open every night of the week. But that's enough from me. Handing back over to Scott.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you so much, Sam. So we've got some more slides, and if the lag isn't too bad here. Okay, community partners. We are a community partner with CityJS, and are we giving away a ticket for CityJS in April? We are. So thanks to Aris and gang, someone here is going to win a ticket to CityJS in April. So we'll have to do the draw for that because I haven't done it yet. So we're going to put everyone's name in a hat and pull it out of the hat. Have you already got your ticket, Scott? Is that where you got your hand up?
Can I say something about CityJS? I met Sam, but he's going to personally ask when I come.
Brendan Ike's going to come. Right, okay, so for everyone on the stream, Brendan. Okay, so not Half-Life 3 confirmed.
I'm sorry that I didn't say more.
Okay, so there's there's the possibility of something might be happening at CityJS in April. Tickets. Someone's going to get a free ticket. It is one of the most reasonably priced conferences in London there is what I will say, and great value for money. I don't know what to do with the slides. There we go. Right, so we've already seen that one. Who's this person? Douglas Crockford's going to be there, apparently. It's a big deal, right, this guy? Yeah? No, everyone's like, I don't know. Okay. So let's just do the housekeeping, and then we'll have Maria come up and talk. So everyone's food and drink, know where it is. So toilets just out this way. Past the elevators, left and right. Ladies on the left, men's on the right. There's no fire alarm scheduled, so if a fire alarm does go off, fire exit's just there. We are let's talk about the next slide. The code of conduct. Do you have to keep clicking it? Is that what it is? You have to keep focusing it. Are you on Discord or something? Stop it. Just let me finish talking, then Maria can do her talk. Okay, there's a code of conduct. Everyone here should be abiding by this code of conduct. If there are any issues, come and speak to a Svelte ambassador, which would be Willow and myself, or talk to Samantha or Kate, and then we'll get things sorted out. So if you are, anyone makes you feel uncomfortable, or is talking to you inappropriately, come and talk to me, Willow, or Sam, and we'll get things sorted out. Like usually we have to self-fund these, but thanks to our great hosts tonight, they've paid for the pizza and drinks. So thank you again to Tessl. Usually we have to ask for donations, but not today. Oh, if you want to join the Blue Sky, there's a Blue Sky starter pack. Sorry, we just whizzed past that one. If you want to scan that one, anyone interested in Blue Sky? There you go. There's a starter pack there. So this is everyone here, all the core team, anyone who's a Svelte ambassador are in that list. And then there's also a Svelte feed by Paolo. I think you have to, yep. Okay, Paolo, thank you for the Svelte feed. Okay, schedule. So precision versus prediction, the trouble with LLMs and libraries from Maria. She's going to be up next. And then after that, where is Elliot? He's there. That finger's not pointing nowhere near you, but we've got a couple of lightning talks. So Elliot, he's going to talk about his game that's been in development for how long? 2 years. So we'll hear about that. and then maybe another lightning talk towards the end. But that is it for the introductions. And I think that's it for the slides. So if we want to give a big warm welcome to Maria while she gets set up, she'll do a talk. Do you want that microphone? Oh, can I clip this to you, please? I'll let you do it. It's just a magnet. Clicks on. You need a clicker?
Is that good?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Hi, everyone. Do I have to go to that link again to join the? Yeah.
It's not getting a driver, but one day we have
We have a little break in between the talks after Maria's finished.
Yeah. Is that all visible? Excellent. Hello, everyone. Very nice to meet you all. My name is Maria Gorinova, and I'm a research engineer here at Tessl. So at Tessl, we've spent a lot of time recently thinking about agents and how to make coding with agents better and more smooth, since we believe this is really where the world is going. And I will, in particular, talk about one problem that we encounter, which is a problem with.
Sorry.
I can speak louder too. Is that better? Yeah. Okay. Excellent. All right. So one problem we have been made deeply aware of is the trouble with agents and LLMs and using libraries. So let me go a little bit more depth in that. What is the problem? Large language models, and hence agents that are built on top of them, are trained on vast amounts of data that is very diverse. It comes from all the internet. It includes sources that are more trustworthy, less trustworthy. It's a mash of different things like comments on Stack Overflow or whole repos on GitHub and so on. And the LLMs need all this data. They're very hungry. They need all that. Now, there is not really a way to differentiate how recent this data is, at least not always, or how good this data is, what the best practices are, and so on. So, in particular, when it comes to coding, that starts being a problem. And why is the problem? Well, coding is very precise, right? It's not, and it's not. You firstly have to write very specific kind of language in order to make a program work, but that's less of a problem with LLMs. I think they're quite good at that. What they struggle with is keeping account for all the different versions and all the different tools that might come in. This data is usually has a cutoff window, so anything that we ask an LLM to do that involves information that has come after this cutoff window is just not possible. So agents are like, I don't know. Versions start becoming a huge blur, and also the APIs themselves is something that is not very prevalent on the internet. If it's let's say a small library or a library that is less popular or has less presence, maybe it's even less documentation online, there might be confusion with what sort of APIs to use, or even confused with a whole different library and so on. To me, though, the biggest problem is, which will be demonstrated by this terribly AI-generated thing there, which has a lot of things going on in it. But to me, the most important bit is that software engineering is built on abstractions. It's like a big Matryoshka doll, where we have components that are sort of standalone, we can be used without knowing what's going on with them, but internally they have a lot of complex logic, and internally that complex logic has more complex logic, and so on and so on. So components communicate with each other and build on top of each other, and so on. And the way language models are trained, they don't really have any sense of this sort of abstraction and this sort of hierarchy. So they don't get sometimes that they have to use a library instead of writing something from scratch, for example. And that is a problem that I've observed a lot and has annoyed me quite a lot. So what is our approach to address some of these problems that we have observed with libraries? At Tessl, we developed something which we call the spec registry, which is essentially a collection of documentation, but not the kind of documentation that we're used to, but documentation that is aimed for agents to read and make their coding better. So let's see an example with Svelte. So this is the Svelte usage specs. You can see that the usage specs are versioned. So we have a choice here between Svelte 4 and 5. And when you use this usage spec, this specific version is going to be loaded in your project, meaning that you can you can have a more consistent coding experience by keeping to the version that you're interested in. And here you can see an example of a spec. The spec contains all sorts of information about, in this case, Svelte or any other package that you can find in the registry. It contains information about installation, it contains information about basic usage, and most importantly, it contains in-depth information about different capabilities that the library has. For example, motion spec, the Svelte specs. And here, this goes into depth about Svelte motion. You can see that it's quite the way the spec is designed. It's quite low on natural language and more code examples, but a lot of code examples about different things. And how can you use this? Well, here is an example. So first you need to install the Tessl CLI tool, which, sorry? Bigger fonts, of course. Is that good? Yeah. All right, so firstly we have to install Tessl, which I already had installed, run it anyway. And then I'm in, so here I'm in an empty folder. And I'm just going to go ahead and initialize this project, which is a little bit of setup that needs to happen. What is public right now is the spec registry, so I'm going to use only the spec registry. I'm going to configure all the codes, since that's what I'm used to using, and this. All right. Okay, so this is now initialized. There's a bunch of files here. And now I can go and do things with the registry. See here. So I can install, I can list, I can search. So I'm going to go with search Svelte. And again, we have the choice of different versions. I'm going to install the latest version that we have usage spec for. And you can now see that if I look at this file, which kind of keeps track of what is being installed, I see that the Svelte usage spec is added as a dependency. And my agent will be able to tell me about this usage spec. So read the Svelte spec and tell me something fun. I don't know. Yeah, goes through a couple of things. Okay, so it's reading the main spec, the index spec, which is kind of the entry point. And what did you tell me? Nice. Is that fun? I have no idea. You tell me. I am not a Svelte expert. In fact, I don't know how to use Svelte. I can't even JavaScript. I'm a Python user. I should have started the talk with this. So I'm a complete newbie to this, and all the examples that I'm showing you have actually been very helpful for me because I don't know anything about this, and it's kind of nice to be able to more reliably vibe code and develop. Anyway, I don't know if that's fun. But the other thing I wanted to show you is actually the difference between using those specs and not using those specs. So in the interest of time, I'm not going to live run this, but previously I ran a couple of examples with in Cloud Code. So here, this is where I didn't use specs. This is just normal Cloud Code. I asked Cloud Code to implement this physics comparison tool with a ball with different animations following my mouse. So you can read exactly what I said there. And let's run this. So this is my physics comparison to without usage specs. And you can see that I mean, I'm not an expert on this, so I don't know exactly at this point in time. I don't know exactly what this is supposed to look like, but something feels a bit off with this twin ball. It does not look right to me. If I click preserve momentum, nothing changes. I don't even know why it moves the other direction. I don't know what's going on here. And if we look at the code that it generated, you see that it generated from scratch the physics for the spring and the twin motions. So you see the new classes here. And this is what the Svelte file imports as well. So it uses, it doesn't actually use what's available in Svelte, which we saw in the motion spec that I showed earlier. It just codes everything from scratch. A problem that I've observed a lot, I don't know about you, not just with Svelte, in general, like anything at all, it will very often not reuse abstractions that are available. And now let's see the version that was with usage specs. So this is exactly the same thing. I'm going to run it. Oh. Okay. Okay, this looks more interesting. That at least there isn't some sort of like weird movement in one direction. Let's try preserve momentum. Oh yeah, that looks cool. I don't know if it's right. Again, oh yeah, it is. Yeah, it is very smooth on my screen. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite smooth. It's very satisfying. Maybe I should show again the other one then. So it is, these two are smooth here as well, but the twin is moving in the one direction for some reason. Yeah. And again, if we do exactly the same thing and go and look at the code, we will see that it's correctly imported from the already existing Svelte modules. So I'm not saying it's perfect. I have no idea. Again, I am a newbie Svelte user, so to me the both are very satisfying. The ones that are with the Svelte modules rather than the coded from scratch. Cool. All right. So back to here. Oh, thanks. Well, I didn't run Claude Code live. That would have been very stressful and slow. So I thought, let's save it. But they are real examples, I promise. You go home and test it, right? Like it works. So, all right. We didn't just do it to work, make it to work for one example. And I wanted to show you this. We do have actually ways of evaluating this, and we have evaluated this. And I'm going to walk you through the way we evaluated this, and hopefully that is interesting and it makes sense. So we took a bunch of package repos, randomly sampled package repos, and then we used an agent, a Cloud Code agent, to generate a coding question, like a coding challenge, and a criterion for evaluation of this coding challenge. So they look kind of like this. Again, this is I generated a Svelte example, just so it turned out to be, again, about motion, but, you know, random, like sometimes it generates other things. So we do that for many, many libraries. And you can see here a small chunk of the question, build an animation timeline system that orchestrates multiple animations, and so on and so on. And then the criterion says, kind of lists things that we expect if the library was used properly. In this case, if Svelte was used properly, we expect to have. So we expect that, we expect that the Spring class would be used, we expect the Spring.set methods to be used, and so on. So we have like a list of these things generated with scores, a max score that we can get for each of those things on the list. So again, we do that for many, many libraries. We generate many questions and many criteria for evaluation. And then we take, the second step is we take the question, only the question, and we ask a different agent to solve it. And now this agent can be good or bad. We expect good agents to do better than bad agents, and we expect, hopefully, usage spec agents with access to usage specs to be better at it than agents without usage specs. So we generate a solution, and then the third step is we take the solution that was generated for each question, we take the criterion that we generated at the beginning, and we ask a third agent to evaluate this question, the answer to this question, the solution to this question, based on that criterion. So in the case with Svelte that we saw here, it will be, in its solution, did it use the Spring class? Did it use the Spring.set method, and so on. And that assigns a score out of 100 for every question for different repos. All right, so again, we generate, for many repos, we generate many questions with many paired with many criterions for evaluation. We then solve them. Yes?
So on the criteria, humans are involved to actually tell it. You need, with this version of this specific spec, you need to use that tool.
No. No.
How do they know to get that information?
So that is the first step. So the first step, we make the agent deeply analyze the source code, right? So it has access, the first agent, number one, has access to the source code. It deeply analyzes the source code, and based on that, decides what proper usage of this library looks like, right? And again, like these agents are separate from each other, and they see only the things that you see being fed in them here, right? So for example, the one that is solving the question doesn't see the criterion. It only sees the question. Okay, so it assigns a score, and then, yeah, we have results. So here, what you see, firstly, one thing I want to say is that I know what you're thinking. This is, if there is no human involved in the loop, isn't that a little bit dodgy? We only rely on agents to evaluate this. Well, we thought of this, and that's why here you see a comparison between different models, and I will explain what that means. We expect in this setting, we expect if the agent number 2, the one in the middle, if this agent is a good agent, the solution should be scored higher, and if it's a bad agent, it should be scored lower. So we decided to take agents using older models and evaluate those and see what happens, because we would expect that if an agent is using HiCode 3.5, it's going to be pretty bad, right? And if it is using the latest model that Anthropic provides, which is Sonnet 4.5 for Cloud Code, which is the baseline here in this case, it will perform better. And this is exactly what we saw. So this validates for us that this evaluation pipeline that we have does indeed differentiate correctly between the models that we've tried. And we kind of see a very, very expected trend, as in we do expect the difference in performance to be something like this between those models. So it all seems very much like it's very much validated in our minds. And you can see here that when using usage specs, so the usage specs bar is like the baseline, so Sonnet 4.5 together with usage specs, we see a notable difference there in performance. We also compared to using Cloud Code with access to the code instead of usage specs. So what do I mean by this? It's like literally copying the whole source code into the folder where you're developing. And instead of saying, oh, look at the usage specs and tell me how to do this, saying, look at the code, the raw source code, and tell me how to do this, right? Which is quite a lot, because the code could be quite a lot. And what you can see here is that they sort of perform on par, or maybe with code slightly better in terms of score, but it is way more expensive. And we observed, here you can only see the total cost, but we have other metrics that we track. You can see that it takes more turns and so on. So usage specs provide you what looking at the raw code all the time will provide you with for cheaper and easier, I guess. We are currently working on a blog post, which is coming very, very soon, which will have some of those results and more. So please stay tuned. It will be very cool. Okay, so key takeaways. Software is built on abstractions, and it's constantly evolving, and that it's something that agents cannot really keep track of and are not designed to be able to deal with. The Tessl registry provides installable and version-accurate context for agents that you can easily integrate in your workflow. And the final point I want to make is that this is not the only solution out there. We believe that usage specs can complement other solutions and provide a more unified and general framework for having agents documentation. And of course, one thing that is available out there is Svelte's own MCP server that provides MCP tool that provides Svelte documentation in your workflows, and we believe that usage specs can be another piece of that, and by no means are a substitution, but more of a again way to unify approaches like this. Thank you.
Take that question.
I would love to take questions. Yes. Yes. Oh,
Who was going to
do
ask
we
a
do
question?
mics for the questions?
Oliver, hang on a sec. I'll let you go before me, even though I've got the microphone.
Thank you. No
That's
problem.
for the live stream and this is for the room.
Sure. So my question was, how are the user specs generated?
So we have a pipeline that again deeply analyzes the source code. So we start from the source code, that is our source of truth, and we deeply analyze this to produce the usage spec.
I see. So that's a static output. So it doesn't need to be recalculated every time that it's run.
Every time that you use the usage spec, no,
Right.
it is static, but it does get updated with versions. So that's why we have the different versions here. As we develop our product, we will have a more updated versions. Yes, so thank you.
Sure. And
brain started needing food.
at the risk of being oblivious to what you actually said, the registry, the files that comprise the registry, those are the output of deep analysis on static analysis on the source code as well.
So just one differentiation. What do you mean by static analysis here? Because if you mean
Well, you call it deep, I call it static. I'll use your terminology. It's the result of an agent analyzing the source
Yes.
code. Right. Okay.
yes,
So everything is effectively the output of an agent. So it's slightly circular. I mean, I'm not saying that the result is
Yeah.
is suspect. I'm simply marveling at the automation.
yeah. I mean, that's what we're building ultimately as humanity right now, right? We are going towards more automation with this technology.
If I can just add to that, is there some sort of additional, like a bit of a feedback loop to improve those static files while that process is going? Yeah, but how long does it, like, my point is, are there like just 1, 5, 10, or in the hundreds in the eval state?
Is the question about the scale of this particular evaluation, or if there is other ways of evaluating?
No, my point is you're getting the score up, so you generate ones, you evaluate if the agent with and without gets a better result, and then rinse and repeat. Is that sort of process done like once, twice, 5,
No,
10,
many
or
times.
100?
Many,
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Let's say hundreds of
Yeah.
times or close. Again, yeah, that was an important thing for us, that we didn't want one example to work. We wanted to know that it works on average. So this what this evaluation shows.
I wanted to know where they live. Where do the specs live?
When you install them,
Yeah.
they live on your device.
But like at the Claude Code folder level or the project level?
The project level. So if we go, oh, sorry, why did I? Yes, it's here. So there is a Tessl directory.
I was
The hidden
looking at the
Tessl.
mini map. I don't think it's on the screen, Maria.
Oh, I don't know why it stopped. There is a hidden Tessl directory on your project level,
Okay.
where the specs live. So here we can see the let's say those. Yeah, I don't know how to help.
And And
Let me.
Brilliant.
This is better.
So that's just a permission.
Anyway, yes. So it lives there. That's
And
what I'm trying to say.
oh, sorry, I wanted to ask about the evals as well.
Mhm.
Are they part of Tessl, or is this just what you've run independently just to evaluate the results?
We've run this independently in the sense of outside of the registry. Yes. So it's the evaluation is not available.
Okay.
The procedure for evaluation is not available publicly, but we will be sharing results very soon. So stay tuned.
Okay, cool. So
Stay tuned.
there might be an evaluation CLI tool. Be it part of Tessl.
I feel I'm not the right person to speak
Okay.
about like the
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to back you into a
yeah
corner there. Okay.
the plans around the product, but
Uh-huh.
we are preparing a blog post that will go into more details and results
Sweet.
about this. And we are, of course, all the time working on other ways of evaluating. So beyond this particular task-based evaluation, we are also looking at how well the agent, we are steering the agent, if is being if it is using the user spec correctly, and also the user specs themselves, if they are if they have the information that they need to have, and so on. So we have several vectors of evaluating this.
Nice. Are you okay with more questions?
Yeah, sure. I mean,
I wanted to ask, you mentioned Python.
You don't have the microphone. Sorry. Thanks.
You mentioned Python. So have you added other packages to the spec registry? And also, how much does it depend on the quality of the documentation? Because some Python documentation is really bad.
it doesn't look at the, so in order to generate the specs, we treat the source code as the point of truth rather than documentation. So that I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because it will matter if there's good documentation in the repo itself, right? That will help. But it should be relatively agnostic to other sort of documentation. And yes, Python, there are Python packages available in the registry. There are Java packages available in the registry, and a couple of others. Yeah, about 10,000, more now, more than 10,000.
Just both.
Double mic.
In terms of integrations, are there any integrations with local LLMs like Olama or GPT-4, or is that part of the plan? Or
Interesting question. I feel you should be able to set up to use it. So, okay, so firstly, how are you using the local LLMs? Is it through an agent, let's say Cursor, or
so a lot of the local LLMs you can actually run directly on your laptop, which kind of works when you have companies which obviously share data or like server.
but what is the agent? So the user specs are kind of something that helps agents rather than raw LLMs, if that makes sense. So you still need the agent to interact with the LLM.
Yeah. So, I mean, like for instance, Olama has a tool which is basically like a CLI, and you run in the term, and then you can interact with deep seek models or a variety of different models, and kind of looking at that terminal interaction. It looks like there's like an actual integration between the two of them. So I was just curious if that was part of the plan, or
It should be agent agnostic. So you might need to set it up yourself, because Tessl only provides automatic setup for certain agents, like you saw in what I showed earlier. But you can definitely set it up yourself to use the specs. Yes.
Brilliant, great. Is it like a sort of open source code base? You can just delve in and change it.
Sorry, the
So in terms of changing it, is it like sort of on GitHub the code so you could adjust like that, or is it actually an inbuilt adjustment in the documentation?
So the way the agent interacts with the specs
Yep.
is something that is completely within your control. We
Right.
install certain way of interacting in your like Cloud
Yeah.
TV, for example. But you can change this, you can move it, you can remove it, you can do whatever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And you
Thank
can always also point to where the spec is that you.
Brilliant. Thank you.
So you mentioned at the beginning, I think that one of the problems this solves is like with smaller libraries. Does that mean you're going to provide ways to generate specs ourselves, like instead of Tessl generating it into the registry, you can generate it locally, perhaps yourself?
Very good question. So we don't plan to, as far as I know. Again, I'm not the best person to speak about product, but as far as I know, we don't plan to release a way to generate specs. We will be generating specs ourselves. However, there will be an option for uploading your own specs. So you can generate a spec for your small library and then make it part of the registry.
So I guess that would work for small libraries, but not internal libraries, for example, right?
That is also something that we are thinking about.
Right. Thank you.
But very good questions. That these things are definitely on our mind because they're very important, and I think they all connect. Problem that I outlined in the beginning about abstraction and the issue of using the right abstractions. Okay.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for the presentation. It seems really useful because I think a lot of us spend a lot of time prepping LLMs to then basically go and do one task and have to go through the whole rigmarole, basically preparing it for a slightly different task. So my question would be, knowing that, it's kind of twofold. So can it look at your package.json and kind of just rip through everything? And if so, there's a couple of game developers here, right? So like what kind of size code base are we talking? Because obviously if you've got, let's say, in my case, 10 games, and then there's all of the Docker and there's the actual node server that's kind of doing all the WebSockets, and what kind of size are we talking about? How all of these specs are going to feed in? Because obviously I don't need all of those specs all of the time, right? So is that like a fire and forget, or is it similar to the workflow?
Let me try to repeat this just to see if I understand the question. So do you mean if in your project so firstly, can it look at your package.json and install this? Yes, it can do this. Not all specs. There might be specs that are not on the registry yet, but whatever is on the registry, it will install.
Will it flag when it doesn't? Will it flag when it doesn't?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest, but I guess it's a user experience we could add. So there is no blocker to it, is what I'm trying to say. Whether the rest of the question, do I understand correctly that you mean what if I have a lot of packages and a lot of dependencies in my project? What happens then? We have tested this with a reasonable amount, in my opinion, of dependencies, and it doesn't degrade performance because of the way it searches for information. So I don't know how many packages are we talking?
That's really the question, isn't it? But once you have, let's say in my case, a game system, so each one has got, then there's going to be many games, and the more games that come along. So all of a sudden I'm thinking, is the workflow going to be similar to what I'm doing at the moment, where I basically like just crimp it right down to like a part of a game? Or can you just do like a fire and forget? Like you send it the whole thing once, and then you can just kind of like work on your questions and just go back and forth. And every time I do a package update, it will then just pull in the test. That's what I'm thinking. For a bigger code base, that's ideally what I want. So I'm not constantly having to do that manual work myself.
I think so. I must say I don't entirely understand what you're picturing, but from what I understand, I think so.
So the question
Play
is,
with it. Go and play with it.
big code bases obviously have more dependencies.
Mm.
How does that happen?
Yeah.
Like many.
I've seen it handle a reasonable amount. So if you have some time, go test it. I would love to,
it's really
to know
fascinating
how you
because
feel about it.
it's highly automated in advance, which, you know, somebody's got to pay those bills or those tokens. So you guys are great.
Question. So I don't know if you've answered this question before, but how frequently do the specs get updated, like for new releases and things like that?
As Sam mentioned,
I don't know if
as
you've
Sam
asked
mentioned,
it
it's
before.
very new, so we don't have a yet.
So right now it's just
There will be one, yes. Yeah.
So we constantly do this. You wouldn't have to wait for another one to train or something. We would kind of monitor her before some of the new things need to be kind of updated. But that hasn't yet. How that actually works.
Yeah, so we are uploading new specs right now. There's just no established cadence. It's not a regular thing.
so when you install everything like the first time, is it synced or do you have to rerun it? Like if you know as the developer that something's been updated, would I rerun like the installation for the spec?
Good question. Yeah, I think at the moment it is manual, so you have
Okay.
to sync your specs whenever there is an dependency or whenever.
So you would have to have that in your workflow or
Yes,
have it
we are
already.
working on ways of
Okay.
improving this. So this is not a final.
Okay. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Give all the feedback after the
Okay.
building was working.
There's a lot of questions. Before we give it to Andrew, very, very helpful.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you.
And Maria, there's one more
Oh yeah, of course.
question.
Sorry.
I just wanted to say the last person speaking there was, I hope you don't mind me saying the name publicly, but I just want to acknowledge that Maya at the last event won a ticket to Fight Club, and say thanks to Kuwait, who kindly let us lottery the ticket for the September event. So it was a bit of a mad. How many people was there? 3 people at the end of the event, because I totally forgot at the end of the event. So just got to acknowledge JYC. Thank you, mate. And I hope you enjoyed yourself. Sorry, Maria, one more question. Okay.
Yes.
I'm so sorry if I was
problem.
pummeling you.
It's a simple question. Will the product remain free after it's been released, or will there be like a charge? It's still early to decide, but just trying to understand if it would be similar to how NPM works, where you can install for free, or would there be some sort along the way you're gonna get us in for free, then later like pay us now?
I don't know.
We don't. We know building something that works for new users. What that look, we are a business, and what that looks like revenue-wise, we have to think about. But that's not like all of what we're doing right now. Right now, internally, it's just like it's build something that's cool. We lucky that we're a very well-funded startup, so we can run for a long time. But what that means, I wouldn't want to say yes or no. But that's not the major focus, right?
Thank you, Maria. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, I'm amazed no one's noticed, but there is some food over there. You can go grab some while we get Elliot set up. So we've got Elliot Bentley, who's going to tell us about his game that's been in development for the last 2 years, and it's good to go now. So if you all want to go grab some food quickly while we get Elliot set up, and it's going to be a couple of minutes, I guess, getting set up. So Someone's asking what's next on the stream. So what is next? So up next we've got Elliot, and I just learned about this game 18 months ago, and I don't want to spoil too much of your talk, but I've had a little sneak peek of some of the slides, and everyone here has heard some of the stuff as well. So very excited to hear about this. It's been a long while, but we've got Elliot here to talk about his game he's been making. So everyone give a big round of applause to Elliot, and I'll hand it over to you.
There we go.
Okay, cool.
Hello. Hi. Hello. So I was asked to, they were asking for talks a couple of hours ago, and I volunteered, even though I've been threatening to give this talk for a couple of years. So these slides are a bit thrown together, but I hope the ideas are good. So yeah, this is about how I built a level editor for my game, not the game itself, using Svelte Kit and Svelte.
Sorry, Scott is spelled on one. So you're in good company.
So in my day job, I work for a company called Data Wrapper that makes data visualization software. And we use Svelte very heavily, even before I joined the company. I think they were using maybe Svelte version 1, and there was a lot of Svelte 2 in the code base when I joined, although most of that is Svelte 5 now, or at least Svelte 4. But you don't want to hear about that. You don't want to hear about my day job. You want to hear about video games. In my free time, sometimes I like to play video games, and I particularly got really interested in this independent games console called the Playdate. It's made by a company called Panic, which some may be familiar with if you've used some of their Mac apps for developers like Transmit. It's been around for a while. But they also have they also publish games, and they also release this hardware, independent games console. It has an open SDK, which is all Lua based, and you can sideload games yourself. So it's really open to hobbyists. And here's the console. It's really small. It has a black and white screen, and it has this crank on the side, which is to control games. So the game I made is one called Otto's Galactic Groove. It's a music game, a rhythm game like Guitar Hero or Dance Dance Revolution, if you've ever played any of those games. And I worked with a musician, Rupert Cole, and illustrator Edie Wolf to produce the game. Took about 2 years. It was a much bigger project than I expected. And it finally came out, I think, in May. Yeah, it was like a mini commercial project, making a little bit of freelance money off it, which was nice. This is what the game looks like. It's not quite as stuttery. Obviously, the stream destroys the frame rate. But to really give you a sense of what the game looks like, I have this little clip of someone playing on YouTube. And then you've got a little character in the background reacting to the higher sound. So it's fun. Rupert wrote a bunch of tracks, Edie wrote a bunch of comics. Here's a little extract from one of the comics we did. Otto is this little sea space slug here, who was traveling the galaxy in search of musical inspiration. Hence the name Otto's Galactic Groove. Yeah, so that's the game, and you can see that the bulk of the gameplay is designed around tracing the notes, right? And so we need note tracks for each of these songs. They're not going to be like algorithmically generated or something procedurally generated. We want them to be handmade, match the notes. We want several difficulty levels. We have like easy notes that are quite simple, easy tracks that are quite simple, and then hard mode where you're more following the actual notes. And so that's represented as a data structure. It's just like a simple array of objects, right? You've got the beat on which the time is, the Y position of it, how long it is, and if there are different steps. It's a multi-point thing. It's it's not bad to edit like a few notes by hand in VS Code just for like initial prototyping. But eventually we needed something a bit more robust because we have about 30 tracks, I think, in the game. Also, so I've added some bonus tracks from other games. It's a lot, and each of those have 3 difficulty levels. So to solve for that, I built the Auto Editor. This is a Svelte Kit web app for editing files for Otto Svelte Groove. Looks like this. I'm a web developer, so I wanted to make a web app. So to give you a quick tour, I guess it's a bit like Audacity if you've used that audio editing software. I kind of gave it a toolbar with different submenus. Got different tools for like writing notes, for editing notes, tweaking them, and then we've got all this this track along the bottom for visualizing both the music and waveform, and also the notes themselves. Why did I build it in Svelte? Which is, I think, why am I giving this talk at a Svelte meetup? I don't know. I like Svelte. It's neat. I think it has pretty good support for SVGs, supposedly, but honestly, I'm so much more familiar with Svelte these days than I am with React or something. It was just like my first choice of tool to go for, and I've no regrets. Really well. Let's talk about some details. So first of all, this track down here that I mentioned, this is all one big SVG, except the waveform, which is canvas in the background. So when you load in an audio file, you can press spacebar and it'll start playing. And then the cursor will move across it. I'll show you, but I can't change tabs. Change which tab I'm screen sharing right now. So you're just gonna have to imagine. But the music will play and sync. You can press a button to add to add the notes as the music plays, or you can draw it on and then kind of replay it over and over again to make sure you put it in the right place. And this I did with SVG because I could get the cursor event handling for free. So like if I was drawing this all in Canvas, I would have to re-implement the detection of like which note is selecting, which then is quite tricky when you get to kind of these complex notes like this kind of S shape down there, triangulate that. And then I was able to, it's really fast to be able to kind of select in different markup, draw canvas. Let's see. So for placing the notes horizontally, I'm doing a bit of linear algebra based on the current playtime in seconds to work out what beat you're on. So like, I don't know if you can tell, but along the top and bottom, it counts up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's the beats of the song, I guess. And then I also calculate the pixel position, the X position as well. And what's really nice is in Svelte, I have the audio element, and I'm doing bind current time, which if you've ever used the audio API, like that's a property built into the audio element. And by binding to that, I can then just like derive all the other properties from that, which is really nice. Don't have to worry about anything else, reactive or anything. So that waveform, as I mentioned in the background, is Canvas. And I'm using this BBC library called Audio Waveform Image Generator, Audio Waveform, I don't know. They built this tool for analyzing audio. I think there's a C online tool, but they also built a JavaScript version. So users can upload an MP3 or a WAV file into the browser, and then this waveform I can show in the background. And to render it, let's see, is this the next slide? Yes. Oh, no. Yes. No, different slide. There is actually Svelte audio waveform component for rendering the data generated using. That was really easy. I just kind of slapped it together. Talking about the audio files that we need. So I mentioned the file format for Galactic Groove files are JSON files, but the audio needs to be a separate file. On on the Playdate, although you can give it MP3 and WAV files, the performance is better if you compile it into a DA audio file, which is like a binary file, that's like a WAV that's like got a different header and it's been chopped up a bit. And so I needed a way of, so that's usually created during compile time when you're building a game, but I didn't want to force users to build a game on the command line in order to export this audio file. So I wrote a JavaScript library for converting WAVs into DAs, which I've learned about binary rely on ChatGPT to help me get through the tricky bits. And so that's all in JavaScript, so it can all be handled client side in the editors. And then to allow users to download the audio files along with the JSON file, I'm using JS, which is quite an ancient library. It's been around for a while. It works great still, even though the API is kind of clunky. It's incredible. Like it's just feels so weird to be able to generate virtual files in the browser, then download them as a zip files. Anyway. One issue I found was that these waveform files, once you adjust the scale, because you have a very long song. I think someone was putting in Through the Fire and Flames at one point once I opened this up to the community. Turns out that the canvas does have a maximum size. If you reach that maximum size, you'll be sad face and break the canvas. And so I thought, okay, that's easy. I'll set a max width on that. You know what the maximum is? It's like 25,000 pixels wide or something, and it'll stretch beyond that. And then I was still getting bug reports, and it turns out that different browsers had different maximum canvas widths available. And so there's actually a library called Canvas Size, which will just tell you what the maximum canvas size is for your browser, whether it's Firefox or Chrome or Edge or whatever. Seems ridiculous to have a whole library for that, but I don't know, browser inconsistencies, they're still around. Okay, so I started building this tool, very early versions in early 2022. So Svelte 5 didn't even exist yet, although Svelte Kit did. Migrating to Svelte 5 wasn't too bad. I guess when I was planning on open sourcing the tool, I realized I should probably like have the latest version of Svelte Kit, so I can guarantee that people can install the dependencies and everything. I first tried running, npm upgrade and stuff, and everything broke. And so I just downloaded a clean copy of SvelteKit and copied across my source folder, and that worked great. And I have migrated some of the components to Svelte 5 using the script. It was quite good practice, but honestly, the Svelte 5 is so good at reading Svelte 4 files that I didn't feel the need to completely rewrite this app just before I open sourced it and probably introduce a bunch of bugs. And that's it. That's the end of the talk. Here's some links. Thank you for listening. Yes, yes. Should have done it the other way around, shouldn't I?
Thank you so much, Elliot. I know you put this together in under an hour, so excellent work for that. So thank you. I saw a lot of hands go up as I was grabbing the microphone for people wanting to ask questions. Or was I just, yeah. I thought I saw more than one hand. Let's go in this way, get out of the way of the camera. Oliver.
Hi. So how manual is the process of creating a game artifact? And is there any chance that you could possibly automate it?
So it's extremely manual. There's loads of games that do attempt to automate it. I didn't really do much research into it because when I've played games that have attempted to do that, I've always felt it's kind of not very satisfying. It's not because it's quite a it's not very objective as to what is a note that you should be playing and what is just background sounds or some accompaniment instrument. And so I think it really does require a human, unfortunately, to generate these.
Sure. Any chance you could sort of have the machine do a first pass and then refine it?
Yeah, maybe it's not something I looked into, because Rupert, the musician, was more than happy to draw these on. He had a vision already when he was composing the songs for what the note track should look like.
They say that software like art is never finished; it's only ever abandoned. Have you finished Otto's Galactic Groove? Or are you still are there parts of it that you sort of are still inspired to work on?
Yeah, well, the game launched in a weird way, actually, because it is the sort of game that I would have preferred to like soft launch, have a beta version, get feedback from the community, but it got accepted into this bundle of games that was released on a weekly basis. So people pre-ordered it, and then 10,000 people all played the game on day one, which was terrifying. I had to fix a lot of bugs in the first 24 hours.
Wow.
But yeah, the feedback was really good. But yes, after that, I was a little bit burnt out and I haven't really touched the game much since.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, question around the canvas. You were saying that the canvas has a max size per browser. Why don't you just do like the old ActiveX IE thing and just say only works in Chrome?
I'm not even going to dignify that with an answer.
Fun fact, the maximum Z index also used to vary between browsers. I think they've all standardized.
Awesome. So thank you very much, Elliot. I'd just like to say, you had problems with the Svelte 5 migration? You said you used the CLI, so SV, right?
Yeah, I think because I'm using heavy use of like what essentially are effects, I guess. I had a lot of like chunks of code and dollar syntax that I don't know, the migration scripts didn't really love that very much.
Did it just put it into the run function?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, it's a really good tool, and they're working on it still. If anyone's spoken to me, no, I'm going through quite a big rewrite as well on Svelte 4, Svelte 5. It's been since the summer.
Yeah.
So I tried the approach of just put it all through this, the code mod, see what happens, and then I think it's the same experience as you. But
you know what I actually encountered was because I'm bubbling a lot of events around, and that's not the Svelte 5 approach, because you're supposed to like pass functions around. And I think that did not translate very well. The migration script was not able to convert that in a straightforward manner.
Cool. And quite refreshing. Was AI mentioned? I don't think it was.
I use ChatGPT for a little bit of machine code, binary manipulation. Oh dear.
It's all vibe coded. No. Has anyone else got any questions before we wrap up? Excellent. Thank you, everyone, so much. And thank you again to Elliot. Thanks, everyone. Let's end it. I know Kane.
Away.
Are you going to let everyone play your game now?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you want to try the game, come find me.
You can show me how to play it now. Sarah, just put this here. Oh. Quick talk.
Ooh. Surprise to it. Yeah. Have I got? Oh.
Sorry, there's one more topic for
That's for
Scott. Has been doing some great stuff with
you can go to the link. So you can just jump on this website. This is like an app that I've got called Pinback. So if you wanted to actually look at the links on the smartphone, you can just go to this app. So I now need to get in sync with it. Hold on. So yeah,
Okay.
what Scott was actually referring to there was like, oh, you've been doing some interesting things with Svelte. That hackathon, basically, I was invited to that specifically because somebody saw a game engine that I was working on, that I had this idea. And they'd invited me over to work on the hackathon to basically solve accessibility problems. And that particular thing that Scott just mentioned, usually you have to spend about, or the families of disabled children usually spend about £5,000 on like a infrared eye tracker that generally just doesn't perform. So essentially what I did, and I can do you a demo on my laptop later, was basically just make it with the camera, and it runs at about 120 frames per second, and it's real time, and obviously that just completely collapses the price. So what happened then was, yeah, basically the talk. So thank you very much to Tessl AI. You're doing a lot of tokens for us, so that's awesome. Thank you. And it turns out that game developers wear very similar clothes. Apparently, if you're a game developer, you have to wear a shirt, a cardigan, have a bit of a scruffy beard thing going on. So yeah, that's funny. So I quite like the idea of this kind of border between nature, like the forest, and the river, and there's like a big spike in life. So that's where you find like the most interesting life. And this is actually a photo of the Philippines, and I think that Svelte is very similar to that, because if you look at other JavaScript tooling, it doesn't quite give you exactly the same scope, and that's what I think is really kind of the core reason that I've chosen to use Svelte. So I'm Scott. You can have a look at this. I'm not entirely sure how good the resolution is, but that's my LinkedIn. I'm trying to get the 500 plus, so I would be most appreciative if you could give me a lift with that. I have a terrible imposter syndrome, because I used to spend my entire life just kind of like super paranoid that I knew the green stuff and like basically everybody else knew the yellow stuff, and it was almost debilitating. But then I realized the more I basically learned programming, and I had all of these tutorials, and especially during the pandemic, I actually know all sorts of like random stuff, and I'm actually kind of like, the Venn diagram is obviously kind of covered up now by my nice modal. But actually, I know a lot about a little, or yeah. So this is kind of an interesting thing, because if you think about what games are all about, you have a bit of UX, and you have a bit of code, and you have a bit of artwork, and you have a bit of music, and obviously, as Alex just described, it's you get to know a little about a lot, and it's kind of fascinating when you think about that. And that actually kind of leads me on to the kind of other stuff that I've done. If you've got it on your smartphone, you'll find that I've worked on a $100 million per year gaming platform, which I designed all the templates for. I've worked with National Geographic and the WHO before USAID thing happened at the beginning of the year. And I'm sure that you all have heard of USAID. That was the thing that Donald Trump and Elon Musk, basically, they stopped all the money going to the WHO. And I lost my job because Donald Trump basically stopped all the funds going over to the WHO. So that basically meant that me doing all of the data visualization and helping those doctors and governments figure out where crisis funds should go, that all stopped. So what does somebody like me do in my spare time after being fired? Well, we play with Svelte, obviously, and Svelte's awesome. But I like games too. So I kind of had this idea, why don't I build a Nintendo Wii? my hours filled. I mean, that definitely filled my time. This is the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So instead of using, controllers like, the Bluetooth and infrared gadgets and that kind of thing, I just decided, why don't we just use the camera? So this actually caught the eye of other people, and obviously I've won a hackathon, et cetera, including Google. So they've literally just flown me out to the States. I've just landed. So, I'm a little bit tired, but that's okay. And maybe there'll be more to talk about in a couple of months or weeks about what happened there. It's called mixed reality games, and it's, the actual games are terrible. They're really terrible. I just haven't programmed them, but I have programmed the controller. So if you jump on mixed reality games, you can have a play. Tonight's talk isn't about that, though. Tonight's talk is about, not being fragile, like AWS. So it turns out this talk was actually requested by a guy from the States, Kevin Doherty. He's a Svelte regular up until recently when he flew back. I don't know whether any of you recognize, Kev. Yeah, exactly. Okay, great. So he requested that I basically just quickly run through this. I'm not going to talk about any of the Rust stuff. Fly.io is full of Rust stuff, and that's awesome. This is a quick intro if you ever wondered how to basically not be fragile like AWS and jump on Fly.io. So grab your GitHub account and log in with your GitHub account and sign up. I don't know what the resolution is like on here. This is basically my username, and you can see that is basically just like your literally the first screen that you see when you actually log into Fly.io. From there, you want to go and do the standard npx sv create and then your project name, and then specifically choose Node as the start adapter. From there, you will be able to go into localhost with the standard port, and everybody's familiar with this. Nothing to see here. Okay, next, you would go to Fly, launch, and then here's a little flag, because Fly is full of quirks, hence the reason for the talk and the request. So you have to do -- no deploy. It then basically brings you out of the CLI and then into the browser. So they just chose to have you install a CLI tool and then take you out here. So from here, you have to configure a bunch of stuff. And then, for example, like choosing your memory. And then it says great success, which is fine, but it's not really the truth. Because when you actually click back into the dashboard, it doesn't actually give you provisioned anything at all. So obviously the no deploy means that you actually have another step to do. So without actually reading the documentation, you basically have to click about a bit. You'll find that there's some yellow icons, which means pending. So is it pending and I wait, or is it pending and I have to then go back into the CLI? Who knows? It doesn't tell you. But obviously, if you jump back onto the CLI, oh yeah, that's on the other page of their site. It says pending, and that's also in yellow. So this is what happens when you go to that link that looks like it's been generated for you. It hasn't actually generated anything. Back in the CLI. So if you then type fly deploy, you would obviously expect that just to deploy. I especially would, because I'm from Vercel. So, coming from Vercel land, where basically like everything is super ironed out in terms of the UX, I was expecting something vastly different. It then basically throws something red in your CLI, and you're kind of like quite, confused by this, because if you actually think that fly deploy would have worked after you've just done fly deploy, no deploy, and then you'd seen all of these screens saying great success, then obviously fly deploy should have worked, right? So it turns out that what you have to do is you then have to go and manually crack into the fly.toml, the amount of memory that you need to allocate, even though you've just done that on their website that they took you away from the CLI for. From there, you should be able to do fly deploy. Yes, it deploys. Slightly more info about that. I couldn't actually get the 256 megabyte instantiation to work on the first attempt. So it turns out, I presume, because of their kind of upstream test dependencies, they must have a test suite that they basically must run with 512 megs of RAM. So they must force that the first time that the smoke tests and all those things are run must have 512. So once that's done, you're then allowed to go back and basically just, you know, play with a 256 megabyte footprint. Obviously, we know in games, it's like that's what you do, right? Yeah, so if you click about a bit, you'll find that all of these things now start to work as you would expect, but there's a dot down here and it keeps changing color, and it's a bit strange why it changes color. You just have to like spontaneously just like have this information available to you. It turns out that gray is suspended, so that's when Firecracker is like an AWS application for loading and kind of destroying and packing away Docker containers very, very fast. So gray is when it's suspended, green is when it's actually running and live, and yellow is basically like when it's pending or it's in some kind of like hiatus state. So from there, you can actually have a look at the logs. From what I can tell, it basically just tells you like just how incredibly long it takes to actually set all of this stuff up. And you know, going back to the imposter syndrome, when you read their documentation and you watch all of their videos, it seems super simple, but when you actually go and type the things, I even made a video of it, of just how many kind of like weird quirks there were. If we had the opportunity to talk longer about it, which we don't tonight, I then continued this as a document where I set up WebSockets, which are namespaced, running the actual games for that system, i.e. the controllers, as all running through the same port, all three Svelte roots. So each Svelte root has a different namespace in WebSockets. And obviously that's an ideal architecture for games because it basically just means that you can have, you know, basically like a monolithic repo, but everything inside of each particular root essentially can just be like, you know, its entire kind of like very, very sophisticated kind of project itself. So obviously when you deploy to Fly.io, that's really handy because obviously they take care of all of the containerization for you and scaling and that kind of thing. So yeah, if you're interested in not being fragile like AWS and you want to try something else, because I've noticed that there's a lot of chat on the thread about like, oh yeah, where do I host my thing? So if you're interested in WebSockets specifically, Fly.io is actually a really, really great place to just run a Docker, figure out WebSockets and get yourself up and running. Thank you. Yay! Thank you.